To me and to many people, there is a problem with not only the American public school systems and private school systems, but there is also a problem with the international school system. I think the United States has the chance to be a pioneer in something big, something that's going to change the world for the next 20 to 50 years. But in order for the U.S. to be a pioneer in this, they need to start by reforming their education system, both public and private. The first fix that can be made is not organizing students grades by age. So instead of having all 13-year-olds be in 7th grade or 14-year-olds being in 8th grade, they have them take a test and they place them in classes that best suits them. This helps not only the smarter students because they can get ahead, but it helps the students who aren't as smart because instead of sitting there and struggling in the same 5 subjects year after year after year, they can retake subjects until they get better at them and have mastered them. So it helps them become a better overall student. Another change that can be made is shortening summer break. Now, a lot of students probably wouldn't like this idea, me included, but it would help the schools because teachers are still getting paid in the summers. Even if they're doing class work, like class prep for the next year, or if they're teaching a summer course, there's a lot of money that's going to waste in the schools. And that would provide economic benefits because schools could then add more curriculum, they could add more technology, and they can put more money into finding better teachers instead of paying the same teachers summer after summer after summer. And it would also help the students because students lose a lot of what they learn each year over the summer. They don't retain very much of it. And so this way it would be more of just like another spring break. Maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks off, where everybody could go, take a break, then come back and start up the school year again. Now, it used to make sense for students to have summers off because families would often work on the farms and they would need their kids back to help them harvest the fields. And harvesting, since it was in summer. But now times have changed. We have more machines, we have more technology, we have more people in the workforce to help us do this. So it would provide, so this change would provide benefits to schools, to teachers, to the economy, and to the students. Now, the next thing that schools can do better is alter their curriculum. Because right now, there's not a lot of money management and economics and classes about like real-world skills, such as shop. And shop would be a huge benefit because it's a real-world skill that can be transferred into real-world jobs, like being a carpenter or an engineer. Now, I will talk more about that in my next speech, but all these changes would create a domino effect. They would trickle down throughout schools, not only in America, but worldwide, as countries who are struggling in education can get back on top by adopting these changes. And so once these changes are adapted everywhere, we will start to see higher test scores everywhere, smarter students who have more skills to do real-world jobs, and this would also come back to helping the orphans, which is what this is really about. Because these students can help get educated, and then kids who would normally be homeless and orphans would be able to hop back into the school district. We can avoid having more orphans by educating everybody else. And the United States can be at the forefront of this and be a pioneer by just adopting these changes. So in my last speech, I talked a lot about how the United States has a chance to be a pioneer in the next big thing, which is reforming both public and private education around the world. I think the main point is choosing and putting in better classes for students to take, and I'm going to expand upon that in this speech. I think that a lot of kids get out of high school and college, and they've taken a lot of really good classes, but it's not individualized to stuff that you can use outside of school. I think if schools added economic and entrepreneurial classes, these would translate to real-world skills. Now, it doesn't have to mean that we're going to teach them like every aspect of the economy or the market, but we can just teach them like terms, what they mean. Because if you were to show like the average high schooler a stock sheet with like 52-week highs, 52-week lows, average rate of growth, they probably wouldn't know what it means. And this class can help do that. Now also, money management classes. These can also be helpful. We don't have to tell students like you need to buy like this kind of stock or invest in this industry. We can just tell them like and teach them what are stocks, what are bonds, what are shares. Like the NASDAQ, the Dow, international markets, rate of investments. And also SHOP is another class that I talked a little bit about in my last speech, but I think is really, really important to kids getting out of high school. Because if a student isn't particularly strong in the math and science industry, taking these classes translates to immediate jobs as soon as they get out of school. They can be carpenters, builders, engineers, because of the skills that they can learn in this class. Also, debate is a really good class to take. Now, I take debate, so this is probably going to be a little bit of a Homer speech, but debate teaches you about subjects that you wouldn't learn about if you weren't taking debate. Last year, we debated about whether humans should go to Mars. Now, it's not just a yes or no question. I got to learn about UV rays. I got to learn about radiation. I got to learn about worldwide crops. All this stuff is covered under the umbrella of debate. And it can keep you up to date with the United States government, current economic news, and politics. Now, one reason that I feel really strongly that money management should be included in classes is teaching you about things that happen in banking, like 401ks and interest. Now, raise your hand if you took a money management class in middle school, high school, or college. Okay. So I was asked this question the first day of 7th grade in my money management class. And the question was written on the board, and you could either choose option A or option B. Option A is, this month, you get $1 million. The second option is, you get a penny that doubles in value every day. So the first day, it'll be worth 1 cent. Second day, it'll be worth 2 cents, then 4 cents, and so on. Raise your hand if you would choose option A. Okay, good. How many of you guys would have chosen option B? All right. When I walked in there the first day, probably 90% of the kids chose option A. And they would have received $1 million that month. The 10% of the kids who chose option B would have earned $5,368,709.12. And money management classes teach you about scenarios like that. They teach you about interest and how valuable it can be. And it's not just chump change that you're getting every month. It can really add up if you keep sticking to it. And I think if the United States adds these classes, we're going to see more individualized and specialized students who can get out into the workforce and really excel. And I think that will trickle down throughout not only America but the world, and it'll help everybody across all spectrums. So, thanks. Even though the show's not over, we'd like to thank all of you for coming and supporting the orphans in Haiti. I think we really did really well tonight in raising money and raising chickens to provide meals for the orphans. So, tell us about our goal, James.
Well, our original goal was 100 chickens, but we surpassed that by a lot, and Grace is going to tell you.
So tonight we had enough money to buy 677 chickens for the orphans of Haiti.
All right. So our guest speaker tonight, Mr. Thirlby, traveled to Haiti in 2006. Mr. Thirlby has seen the troubles firsthand of the orphans that live in Haiti. And for the next 3 years after that, up until 2009, he volunteered at the Global Orphan Project, where he then became the president there. Before the Global Orphan Project, Mr. Thirlby spent almost 20 years in the Air Force, financial services, and Christian broadcasting. Now Trace and his wife, Christian, live in desire to see all the orphans of the world welcomed into God's home. They lived in Overland Park with their 3 girls, Hannah, Carolyn, and Elise. Please join me in the welcoming of our guest speaker, Trace Thirlby.
Straight through hell.